Devout Hindus feel that during the lifetime of each man, there should be performed some 40 samskaras, or sacraments of purification, marking events in his ongoing life from the very first moment at conception to the very last moment at cremation and beyond. At least 2 of the rites of passage through life are done before a child is even born. They are prenatal rites. And although in ancient times they were celebrated as 2 separate events during different months of pregnancy, today in Madras city in South India, among the Tengalai Sri Vaishnava Brahmins, as also throughout most of traditional Indian society, the 2 prenatal rites known as Pumsavana Samskara and Simantam Samskara are celebrated together, end to end, during the 8th month of pregnancy. The first of these samskaras, or sacraments, is called Pumsavana, and means literally securing a son. Once done during the 3rd month of pregnancy, it is now observed toward the end. The husband and wife are seated before the sacred fire with the family priest, dressed much as they were with garlands and decorations less than a year before at their wedding. Homolibations of clarified butter are being made into the flames. Friends and relatives surround the couple for this important sacramental event. The men on one side, the women on the other. All wish to participate in blessing the as yet unborn child of this couple. 2 young girls are directed to take and to crush the sprouts of a banyan tree. Using a grindstone brought in from the family kitchen. With the milk, this pulp is made into a paste and handed over to the priest, who takes it and binds it in the corner of a freshly washed sari. The husband rises and receives this bundle from the priest, and together they use it to cover from the view of the guests his wife, who remains seated behind it. What the guests do not see yet know is happening, since this is the central act of this Pumsavana rite, is that the husband ritually squeezes the nectar into the nose of his wife. This, if done correctly while uttering the proper mantra formula, is believed to determine the sex of the unborn child in his wife's womb. She is directed then to leave the room and to change into the new, freshly washed sari, while her husband and the family priest commence preparations for the companion ritual, the Simantam Samskara. Simantam means literally parting the hair, the central act in this rite, and is intended to prefigure symbolically the safe delivery of both mother and child from the throes of childbirth only a few weeks away. The wife, now dressed in her new sari and still wearing the ornaments of a young bride, re-enters and takes her place beside her husband and the family priest. Offerings of ghee into the sacred flames are continued while the priest intones mantras. Then hands to the husband a spray of mango leaves concealing a porcupine quill. With this, the husband traces a line up the center of his wife's body and through the middle part of her hair. He disposes of the sacred sprig, circumambulates his wife, and returns to his seat. The ritual, seeking after a safe delivery, is sealed with more homolibations. And then, in accordance with ancient custom in South India, the priest signals for a male calf to be led in, although once, many centuries ago, the calf may have been sacrificially slaughtered to further ensure offspring for the couple. Now it is honored with perfumed water, a garland of flowers, and, to the delight of those watching, with food offerings. Next, since this is a social as well as a ritual event, the guests who have been concerned enough to come to the Pumsavana Simantam rites are entertained by a hired musician. This artist is given an honored place for his recital, and his presence at the celebration may sometimes be a matter of considerable expense to the host family. His sweet-sounding music from the veena serves not only to entertain the guests, but also, and perhaps more importantly, serves to soothe the unborn child in the womb, inducing in it an even disposition and a calm temperament. Near the end, the guests are given token gifts. The man and the wife in whose honor all came offer dishes of coconut and betel nut to the various couples who are there, commencing with the oldest and working down chronologically, couple by couple, through the guest list. Finally, the man and his wife stand as the family priest recapitulates what has transpired ritually, and as they prostrate, they receive Ashirvadam blessings of the company as rice is thrown at them. Again, two rites, formerly done separately and at different times, are nowadays done together, both marking the arrival of the male offspring into the family circle. Jatakarman Samskara means, literally, the sacramental rite marking birth, while Namakaranam Samskara is the companion rite of name-giving. They are attended to during the first few weeks after the son's arrival, although ideally they are celebrated in tandem on the newborn baby's 11th day. Originally, of course, Jatakarman Samskara was to have been done by the father right at birth, even before the umbilical cord was severed. Today, however, it is done after the confinement period is well over, when there is no longer any risk of contamination from the event. On the day selected for the celebration of the sacraments, the family and a few close friends gather with the priest in the living room. The wife, presumably still weak, is called in only when she and the child are needed for ritual purposes. For some, this may be the first time they will have seen the new arrival, and there is a sense of warmth and family solidarity as he is brought literally into the family circle for the first time by his mother. The texts enjoin that the baby wear a red garment. And all is seriousness as the priest and the father go about the preparations for this ritual recognition of kinship. Purification by water sprinklings precede a statement by the priest of the purpose of the proceedings. And the father is instructed to touch the child by running his hand across the length of the infant 3 times. He then breathes over his son's head, and then, taking a coin wrapped in darba grass given him by the priest, the father dips this in honey and feeds the child 4 times. Finally, mantras addressed to Mother Earth herself are spoken as the Father declares to all the visible and invisible witnesses that this is his Son. Fire offerings then commence as the Father follows the explicit direction of the family's hereditary priest step by step. The intricate formulas and liturgical actions are central to the proper performance of the rituals and necessarily take some time, and provide a link with the other sacrament nowadays celebrated along with the birthright, namakarana, or the name-giving rite, providing the newly born son with his secret designation or his ritual name. The preliminaries of some kalpa statements and appeasements by offerings of uncooked grains of rice and of pacifications by water sprinklings are taken care of. And the simple, straightforward act of whispering the child's name into his right ear marks the central moment of this rite. The high seriousness now gives way to happy relaxation once the central rites have been done. Rice is passed to the men who throw it in Ashirvadam blessing at the couple as they prostrate. The celebration ends on a happy note as one of the sisters-in-law of the new mother gives a gift to the child, a small silver feeding vessel called a paladai, handing it first to the priest, who in turn hands it over to the mother. A family dinner will follow, but not until all have congratulated the father, complimented the mother, and examined and fondled the baby. The ancient texts suggest that certain events in the first several weeks of the growing infant's life be marked sacramentally. Most of these acts have fallen into disuse today, but one that is still widely celebrated is the first time the child is given solid food. This sacrament, called Anaprashana Samskara, marks the commencement of the weaning process. It is done normally on a day picked by the family astrologer and falling in the child's 6th month, a day considered auspicious and when this important commencement event is most likely to have happy consequences. As the mother finishes lighting the lamp and checking the area marked off on the living room floor as holy, the priest arrives. He comes early to check that all is in readiness so that things may commence punctually at the appointed hour. This is the only samskara sacrament that does not require a sacred fire. This celebration, unlike the others depicted here, is small and intimate. Only very close family members attend. The mother enters with her son, obviously healthy and robust, and seats herself so that the child's face is toward the east. The father, wearing the pavitra ring, commences with the samkalpa gesture, and activities begin as a small cord prepared in advance and blessed with protective mantra powers is tied around the child's wrist. This, along with the collyrium smeared around his eyes, is meant to ward off evil influences. The child is further purified by water libations. And the father purifies himself by pranayama breathing cycles. And in a moment, the central act is done, feeding the child with a mixture of rice and brown sugar 4 times. This is accompanied by mantras. And the proud parents wait for some sign that the child will take to his new diet and wax strong and healthy from this moment of first feeding onward. The concluding activities here are much the same as in other ritual situations. Scented rose water mixed with sandal paste is distributed and rubbed refreshingly on the hands and arms by the guests. Colored rice is given to the men and thrown by them on the participants in blessing. And most important of all, the priest is to be paid. Guru Dakshina, a necessary part in all ritual undertakings, consists of money as well as token fruits and other edible offerings. Such offerings by the client families whom he hereditarily serves is, in most cases, the priest's sole source of income. He blesses the donor and then goes on his way, probably to supervise and conduct a similar sacramental function in the nearby home of some other family in his care. The family, left alone, will relax for a few moments together with betel nut and leaves, but not until they have finished admiring this boy fast becoming their pride and joy. Later, when it is time for his schooling to commence, another rite is performed to the young boy. Ancient texts indicate that trimming the hair and nails removes impurities and imparts vigor and strength. The Chaula Samskara would seem to be a purification ceremony prior to the boy's approach to the sacred Vedic lore at the core of his education, giving him the necessary ritual preparation, intellectual invigoration, and moral strength for the initiation into Hindu wisdom that is to follow. In any case, the main act is the trimming, symbolically and actually, of the hair, a tonsure rite. The boy is by now 5 years old or so. In some families, this tonsure rite is done earlier, at 3 years of age, or later, just before his investiture rite with the sacred thread at 8 years of age, or even just before marriage. But here, it is done in this Madras family to coincide with another popular but private family-centered celebration, the commencement of education, or Vidya Aramba rites. So once again, we see two rituals compressed into one tandem event. And once the scene is, as with all the sacraments so far seen, the living room of the family home. There, the father and the family priest are attending to the fire offerings, surrounded by the ladies and men of the house. The boy is obviously having a good time, for he is the center of attention. This celebration is, for him, very much like a first birthday party for one of our children. As the last libation of ghee is made into the fire, the family priest directs the father to rise and signals for a young, unmarried lad, a brahmacharin, to take his place on the other side of the boy to be tonsured. His job is to catch the clippings in a cup shaped from a banana leaf, and later to take them out for burial or disposal in the temple tank. The priest gives the father some stalks of darba grass, and with a razor he cuts 3 or 4 of these on each of the front, sides, and back of his son's head. Now, obviously, no actual hair cutting has been done. This is the job of the family barber, and he cannot enter the house because his low caste status will defile it. So the boy, led by his father, goes out to meet him where he is waiting, outside, on the front porch. There, a plank has been prepared and decorated for the young boy to sit on while his head will be shaved. The plank is placed on some spread out grains. Grains become part of the barber's payment once he has played out his role in this hair trimming rite. In earlier times, the tonsure removed all the hair from the head except for a small tuft at the back. Today, however, particularly in the cities, Brahmin boys no longer wish to be identified by the tuft, so tonsure really only amounts to a temporary reshaping of the hairline around the face. His job finished, the family barber then puts away his things and receives his payment from the boy's father, and then leaves. The boy, having been bathed to wash away the taint of the barber's low-caste touch and to resume his ritual purity, rejoins the family circle, where his father commences his son's education, reading. Ah, oo, e, and writing. This is a ceremony sometimes marked separately and called Vidya Aramba, Tamil letters. It is concluded parents and grandparents change into their street clothes, gather up the sweets and fruits from the celebration to give to the teacher, and accompany their son, book bag over his shoulder, to the primary school, where he will enroll and commence his basic education in preparation for his adult role in Hindu society. The Hindu sacrament of thread investiture takes several hours to perform. A few highlights from the rites as they proceed disclose why the sacred thread ceremony is the most important ritual event in the life of a young Hindu. For a Brahmin boy, it marks his second birth. His father, who sired him, gave him his first natural birth in the world as a human being, and now his spiritual father, the family priest, gives him his second birth in these rituals by introducing him to the sacred mysteries of Hinduism. The boy in ancient times was obliged to be initiated between the ages of 8 and 16. Nowadays it is enough if it is done sometime before he gets married. It is a family affair, and various members of the extended Hindu family surround the boy, including his mother, his sisters, aunts, uncles, and cousins, and each has an assigned role to play. After ritual blessings, a pot containing holy water is taken to a place apart from the crowd of family and friends. There, the lad will be given a ritual rinse or bath by his father. This is the first significant event of a series of picturesque rituals that may together take all day to perform. While the priest utters mantras or prayers, and the lad's mother and one of her sisters sing a traditional song, the boy's father pours out the water that has been invoked with special purifying and curative powers. This ritual bath is intended to cleanse the boy for the fire offerings that follow. The sacred fire has been kindled by the father on behalf of his son, and, following the family priest's directions, libations called homas are made into the flames. While these are being made, prayers in Sanskrit are recited, petitioning all the Hindu gods to come and to be present there in spirit, hallowing the occasion. By this time, guests have arrived. The ladies and children stand or sit together apart from the men, as is usual Brahmanical Hindu custom. As further preparation and purification for his investiture, the lad is to have his hair cut. This ritual of tonsure, sometimes called chawla or chudakarman, is done first symbolically by the boy's father, using stalks of darba grass. An actual shave and tonsure is given by the family barber. This is taken care of on a side porch because the barber, who is of low caste, cannot enter the room where the sacred rituals are being performed. Once a boy's head was entirely shaved except for a tuft at the back of the head. This practice is no longer favored by city-dwelling Hindus, who have instead only a partial tonsure and a symbolic removal of other body hair believed in ancient times to be defiling. All this is to get the lad ready for one of the central rites of the day, the actual thread ceremony, and this is heralded by musicians. As their music announces this important event outside, the boy waits in readiness to receive the sacred thread, the outward symbol of his second birth. When the cord is put over his head, he inwardly confirms that he is ready and willing to live by the standards of his high caste calling. And once he wears it, he is obligated to do and not do certain things in accordance with his new stage of life. The sacred cord that surrounds him for the rest of his marks him as a twice-born man who is literally bound by the laws and responsibilities of full manhood as a Hindu. Among the other symbolic episodes that follow are various ceremonies that signify the instruction and training that should be part of every adult Hindu male's background, assuming he is a man of high birth. One such episode is seen in a ritual meal. This he takes with another lad, a friend who has already had his investiture rite performed. Has been prepared by our boy's mother just for this moment. And as he turns to it, he is instructed by his friend in the proper way for a twice-born Hindu to take food. Seated on the floor, he takes water first and encircles 3 times the leaf that serves as his plate. Then he sips some water to purify his inner being that is about to receive sustenance. Then he takes 6 morsels, one in honor of each of the 5 vital breaths, and one in honor of the universal spirit Brahman, and then he eats. He eats this food with enjoyment, as is proper etiquette for any high-born person. When he is finished, he returns to his spiritual preceptor, his second father, the priest, and while others look on and serve as witnesses, the lad is taught further details about such things as achamana, purifications with water, that is, sipping in the proper manner, as well as the complicated ways to perform what is called nyasa, gestures by which he invokes divine powers to be present in his body. These ceremonies provide a kind of religious education for many who watch. Next, symbolic of the stage of life as a student that he has now reached, he is given a garment made of a particular fine material and tinted with a special vegetable dye. And while he stands on a stone to signify his steadfastness, he is dressed in the traditional brahmacharans or students' ascetic garb. And this is tied with a special belt called a mekhala, made of maunja grass, the 3 strands that encircle him representing the 3 Vedic scriptures whose wisdom will hereafter protect him. Many look upon this belt also as reminiscent of a kind of chastity belt. Now he learns how to enkindle the sacred Vedic fire for himself. Before the sacrificial flames, he is told by the priest how to make the holy libations to Agni, shining god of the hearth and of the altar fire. All these episodes of instruction lead up to a central and important ritual moment, and here the priest tells the boy to come close. And under a symbolic tent, apart from all but the boy's earthly mother and father, the priest gives the lad the crucial instructions that introduce him to the sacred learning. And this is the high point of Upanayana. Indeed, the name for the entire day's proceedings, Upanayana, derives from the priest's command to come close. The priest, as preceptor and spiritual father, now ritually adopts the boy as his spiritual heir or disciple. And symbolic of this new relationship, he gives the boy a danda, or staff. Speaking through the lad's father, the new spiritual father demands that the boy hereafter live by certain precepts and rules. To these, the boy ritually responds with the word badam, vowing obedience. The further instruction of the boy in his spiritual discipline is now handed over by his father to the family priest and preceptor. Daily, as an adult, twice-born Hindu, one should pray to the sun for strength. The priest repeats the holy Gayatri mantra addressed to the sun while the novice listens. This done, the lad must learn the lesson that all creatures are dependent on one another. To do this, he is commanded to beg for his livelihood so long as he is a dependent. This command has developed into a ritual in which the ladies of the family willingly supply to the youth. And so he ritually begs for food, turning first to his mother, bowing to her out of respect, and giving her his full ritual name, and in turn receiving from her 3 overflowing cups of rice. He then begs in a similar way from several of his mother's relatives. The day is almost over now, and the ceremonies draw to a close. There is a relaxed and happy air now. Gifts of fruits and betel leaves, candy and sweetmeats are distributed among the guests, starting with the eldest men first, ending up with the children. All that remain are the blessings, some ritual, some spontaneous, all from members of the family to the boy entering a new phase of his life. And so blessed, he will remain in this brahmacharan's or student's stage of life for some time, observing the vows of chastity and obedience, heeding the counsel of the family preceptor, seeking deeper understanding of Hindu wisdom, until he himself marries and rears a family with sons of his own. For those Hindus who wish to confirm outwardly their faith in Vishnu as Savior, they seek out a qualified acharya or preceptor for initiation. Such a person is this man, who traces his lineage back in an unbroken line of apostolic succession to the 13th century Sri Vaishnava saints. At the appointed hour, he signals for his hereditary disciples to enter, a couple recently married and seeking further purification by submitting to these ceremonies. They have already bathed, the clothes they wear are new. Now the liquid panchagavya, the 5 products of the cow, is taken for purification of their inner beings, so that they will be both inwardly and outwardly ready for the Hindu sacrament of surrender. Before moving into the 5 steps of the liturgy of prapatti, or surrender, evil influences must be warded off. This is done by tying the traditional Rakshabandha thread of protection on the wrist, first of the husband and then of the wife. It is worth noting that both Brahmins and may be initiated into the inner circles of Sri Vaishnava faith. According to the teachings of this sector of devotional Hinduism, the Lord's grace is free and available to all who in faith turn to Him and surrender themselves wholeheartedly. The important requisite is not caste or status or insight, but rather a turning of one's heart to God. After completing homolibations in the first of the 5 steps of the sacrament of surrender commences as the priest moves to his shrine cupboard and there takes out 2 silver branding sticks. The young wife has been directed to go aside and remove her blouse so that she may receive the holy tapa marks on her shoulders along with her husband. The silver branding sticks are heated in the embers of the fire. From this day forward, the right shoulder will bear the brand of the discus weapon, symbol of Vishnu's power. The left shoulder will receive the brand of Vishnu's conch shell, symbol of his constancy. Thus, the faithful proudly proclaim that they surrender themselves to the protection of God's custody and keeping. Devotees initiated thus are recognized by the tiny scars made only by such silver brands as these, and only during this part of the sacrament of surrender. All who are Sri Vaishnavas honor these branding sticks bearing the Lord's holy emblems, just as they would honor the Lord's own holy presence. The second of the 5 steps of initiation requires that one further display his devotion by abasing himself to the Most High and search for a fitting abode where the Lord may dwell on earth. First, white paste, and then red, is applied on 12 different places on the body. Each mark is a symbolic resting place for one of the 12 different aspects of the Lord. As each pundra mark is applied, the Lord is addressed by a particular name and petitioned to take his place there, protecting the devotee who serves so willingly as his lowly footstool. The husband receives 12 marks on different parts of his head, arms, and torso. Modesty dictates, however, that his wife receive only 4 marks. In the third step of the 5-part ceremony, the devotees each receive a new name as servants of the Lord and of their spiritual preceptor. The fourth is to receive the proper formula by which to praise God. The preceptor traces his ancestry and authority back through his human forebears to a divine origin, and then gives the holy mantra formula. In token exchange for this saving knowledge, they offer him Guru Dakshina, a gift of a sari for his wife, a new dhoti for his own use, fruits and betel nuts, and some rupee notes. The fifth and last step of initiation is instruction in true yaga, or sacrifice. Some put this final step off until their deathbed when all occasion for sin is past, but others present themselves at this point as a living sacrifice to demonstrate their trust in God to guide and save them. As the priest stands before the Lord, he intercedes on their behalf and petitions God to accept these his humble devotees. When they arise, they are Sri Vaishnavas, full-fledged members of the company of the faithful, those who have turned themselves over completely to God's keeping. They receive holy water, sipping it for the first time as one of God's own, one with all others who serve the Lord with loving devotion. Faith that he will continuously care for and uphold them. They depart to lead a new life, having surrendered themselves to God's grace through the ministry of the intercessory priest, their preceptor in the faith, their guide along the path of devotion. The days are very hot in the village of Thiruvankaranai, for it is early March and approaching the hottest summer season. At the temple tank, a priest gathers fresh and cooling pure water, and with the temple pipers and drummers leading the way, he carries it back around the temple to this shrine within. Villagers begin to congregate, moving toward the temple courtyard. A festival is about to commence. Waiting within are the priestly specialists, some of whom are there just for this special occasion, and they all stand ready to give honor, that is, to do puja, to the images of the deity, in this case, the Lord Vishnu and his consort goddesses, Shri and Bhu.
Satyam vadishyami, tanmamavadu, tadbhaktaramavadu, avatu mam, avatu bhaktaram.
Once the deities have been made ready, and all the ritual containers and elements have been blessed, the chief priest, assisted by 2 or 3 others, commences the ministrations. First, the regular daily routines of liturgical worship called Nitya Puja are afforded the divine three: brushing the teeth, offering water to rinse the mouth, advancing perfumed towel, fanning the three, showing them their reflections in a mirror, raising above them a miniature umbrella to symbolize a processional walk, using on them a small fly whisk, and so forth. All these are elements that constitute parts of regular Nitya Puja worship. At a certain point during these regular or Nitya Puja offerings of temple worship, the liturgy will be expanded to include today's special or Naimitika offerings, a refreshing shower bath given once a year to the Lord and his consorts in order to cool them from the summer's heat. As preparation for that Abhishekam shower bath, there will be 6 preliminary libations, commencing with one that is done in symbolic gesture form only, to the accompaniment of prayers. This is called mantra snana, that is, cleaning with prayer formulas. This is followed by 5 actual libations using curds, then milk, then honey, then the water from a freshly opened coconut, and then by churna, or fragrant powder. Each time, the deity is rinsed off and dried while devotional stanzas are recited or sung by attendant priests. One special priest, called an acharya, who is an expert in details of these liturgies, watches all the while to make sure that nothing is omitted or overlooked. In each case, the libation is made first over the head of the Lord Vishnu, then onto his discus symbol of power, then onto his conch shell weapon, thereupon over the goddess Shri on his right side and the goddess Bu on his left side. The last thing before the cooling shower is to decorate the deities with garlands of sweet-scented leaves. These are tulasi, or basil leaves, and are believed to be sacred to the Lord Vishnu. And now, using silver implements fashioned to resemble the sacred emblems of Vishnu's discus and conch, the cooling waters are poured, prayers of praise and petition are uttered, and the refreshing abhishekam, or shower bath, is given. And when this is done, the wet clothes of the deities are changed for dry ones, and the regular Nitya Puja liturgies are resumed where they were interrupted. Here, as before, dhupa, that is incense, is advanced to the deities, followed by deepa, or offering of a flaming lamp. Once again, the curtain is drawn, and when it is lowered, the chief officiating priest brings out the water which has been made holy by its contact with the deity's form while bathing. This is distributed to the other priests and temple trustees present, followed by blessings from the touch of the Shatakopam dome. The bell signifies that behind the drawn curtain, the Lord has been dressed in his full regal garb and is now receiving the final offerings of the day's regular liturgies. The temple jewels will have been brought out, the finest garlands have been advanced, the celebration honoring the Lord and Sustainer of the universe is almost finished. All that remains is for a suitable offering of food to be advanced for the deity's refreshment. And when the Lord, as well as Shri and Boo, have taken their spiritual fill, the material leftovers of this summer salad of seasonal fruits are passed out as prasadams to the faithful who have gathered to watch this special once-a-year temple festival. These village folk will consume this prasadam, and when the ceremonies are over, go home spiritually refreshed.